Hi, how are you doing? So, we all who are here watching this video have successfully survived the first half of 2021. This means that it has been exactly 6 months since I shaved off my hair. It's quite impressive how it's grown back. So what was that? But it also means that it has been 6 months now since I decided to actually seriously start reading. Everything started with just deciding to read an hour a day and then a book a week, and then it went on from there. So I thought it would be nice to just make a little talking video, tell you a little about some of my new favorites of the books that I read this year. This half of the year has been very, very impressive. I've read 57 books, which is crazy. I don't even think I've read this much in my whole life before, but I did it. And as I said, everything started with reading for an hour a day. I'm just going to talk a little about some new favorites, some super good authors, and yeah, that will be the video. I'm not going to tell you about all the books I read. If you're interested in that, then you can go on Goodreads and view my reading challenge, but I don't want to bore you out. I want this to be quite quick, so I'm just going to talk about the favorites. The first book I absolutely adored was a reread. It was The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro, Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. I have no idea how to pronounce those names. I'm probably pronouncing them wrong, but I'm sorry for that. This is a really, really good book. It talks about relationships, how most of the time we build vertical relationships, but we should build horizontal relationships instead. And horizontal relationships mean that nobody is inferior, nobody is superior, we are all equal and stuff like that. It also talks about choice, about how we choose to dislike somebody and stuff like that, which I know sounds crazy, but once you actually read it, you kind of feel the same. This book just tells you that most of the time we kind of decide in our minds that, oh, we don't like this person, or we want to find some reasons why we shouldn't like this person, and that's when we first start recognizing these faults about the other person or these traits that we like less. It also talks about how we should live in the now, about how life is made out of dots, lots of small dots, which are all the moments we have, and we should be dancing between those dots, and that life is not just a straight line, it has ups and downs, and just to be in the moment. But the most important thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that this book is about Adlerian psychology, which means that these are the thoughts that Alfred Adler had written in a quite easy format. The whole book is written as a dialogue between a young man and a philosopher. A New Earth is a book I read twice during these 6 months. It's written by Eckhart Tolle, and this is a book about the ego and the pain body, and about how connected we are to our egos that aren't actually us. We are just beings, we just are. It helps you understand the teachings of Jesus and Buddha and everybody and it's definitely a must read. Don't worry if you can't get all of the information when you first read it, because every sentence of this book is just wow, full of so much information, and this is your guide to awareness. Just read it and you can feel it in you. The next book is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is a children's classic book, but it was a lovely book. It talked about a young girl who was sent to a really, really good school. She was rich and just got everything she wanted because, well, she was like a little princess to her father. And then her father and his friend found this like diamond mine or something, and they started digging it, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to be so rich and stuff. But then her father got sick and died, unfortunately, which meant that she was poor because she didn't have anybody else in the world. So she started working for that school instead. She was teaching French to some students. She was doing all the chores and stuff, and her life was just horrible, but she was a very, very bright kid. She didn't lose hope. She tried to see beauty in everything. And then one day this guy moved in next doors, and it turned out that they were looking for her, and that guy was her father's friend who felt like he had to take care of her now because it was kind of his fault that her father died. So it was just a really, really lovely story. I also read The Secret Garden by the same author, which was equally a lovely story. It was about an Indian girl whose parents died, so she had to move in with her uncle, I believe, but she wasn't used to not be served all the time and stuff like that. And then she kind of got a goal there. She made friends and she helped improve the relationship between her uncle and her uncle's son. Then the next book I absolutely loved was Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami is now one of my favorite authors. His books are just full of so much information about like different books and music, and there are so many quotes and stuff like that. I just love them. But anyway, Norwegian Wood is a book about a guy named Toru who goes to college, and he has a friend who has a girlfriend, and then the friend dies, and then Toru and the girl stop talking, but then a few years later they start talking again, and then on the girl's birthday they kind of end up in bed together, and then the girl just disappears, and it turns out that she has gone to a mental like institute thingy that isn't really like an institute. So Doro goes to visit her, and they get together again, and he just goes there to visit, and then Doro has to go back to college, which he does, and buys a place so that they can have a future together, just plans everything, and then the girl commits suicide. Oh, the girl's name was Naoko, but then Toru helps out a girl who was Naoko's friend at the institute, and that was kind of it. But reading the book itself was such an experience that I just fell in love with Haruki Murakami's writing. Then I also read Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami, which I liked slightly more than Norwegian would. Kafka on the Shore is about a boy who runs away from home and names himself Kafka, and he loves books, and he also knows stuff about music, and then he ends up in this town library and then he can kind of like stay, and he makes friends with the owner of the library and the guy who's working there, and stuff happens between them all, and Toro kind of thinks that the woman who owns the library might be his mother, so he is just really trying to figure a lot of stuff out. At the same time, we are reading about an incident that happened a few years ago. There are some kind of police reports and stuff like that, and then there is talk about Nakata, who is a guy who can talk to cats, and he just gets these little like moments when he knows what he has to do next, so he just travels around, reaches the library. In the end, he burns the library owner's life memoir, and all kinds of crazy stuff just happens to him. Then I read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, and the writing just deserves a chef's kiss. He writes in poetry style in a way, and the book itself is written as a boy's kind of, they say it's letters to his mom who can't read, but I would say that in a way it's like a diary for himself, where he can tell his mom stuff that he couldn't actually tell her in real life. But the writing is just so beautiful that it deserves a read, and Ocean Vuong is now also one of my favorite authors just because of the writing. This is an experience, and you need this in your life. And then I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I love the book. Ernest Cline might possibly be one of my favorite authors now as well. I read it to have an interesting and quick read while I just wasn't really feeling like reading much, and that book did it for me. It's a book about a society where people most of the time live in this virtual world because everything has gotten so bad, and then one of the creators of that virtual world dies, but he has become super rich, so he designs a competition where the winner of the competition will win all of the money that was left over from him. And the guy that we are following is a young boy who is living with his aunt, and the life there is just horrible. And in the end, he meets the people he made friends with in the game, and everything goes well, and it's just a must read. But that was my half of 2021 in books, and I just can't believe that I actually read this much. It's crazy, and it's crazier that I will have the chance to read even more this next part of 2021, which of course I will try to do. But just wow, if I can do it, you can do it. So that's it. But thank you for staying with me today, and this year and everything. So bye bye.